In this lesson and the ones that follow, I will go through a sample exercise of creating and using a record set for various purposes in a form in Microsoft Access. I've created a new form for this sample called Managers, and this form appears in the sample DB database that's in the Work Files folder of this course. Basically, what this form does is it will provide a list of managers which will be created when the form is loaded. A user can select a particular manager and the department which that manager leads and the number of employees that that manager is in charge of will appear. So there's basically two events that would cause us to need to use the information in the record set. During the form load event, we need to put the list of managers into the list box. And then in the select event for the list box, we need to be able to look up that particular manager in the record set to get the department and total number of employees. So let's start with the form load event and being able to put the information into the form, into the list box on the form. Now, we're going to have to use the record set in two different event procedures. Yet it's the same record set, or at least the same data that is feeding into the record set. So what's best is to use embedded SQL and create the string variable that holds the SQL string in the general section so it can be used by all procedures with this form. So I'll create a string variable I'll call SQL to hold the SQL, and I will make the string. So I start with a select statement. The fields I want are manager, department, and a count of the employees. So I can pick any field. I've been using last name to identify employees, and I'll just call that as total so I have a field name for that. All right, that's getting a little long, so I will continue building the SQL string on the next line by using the concatenation operator. Now we are obtaining those fields from the employees table. Because I want to get a count, I'm using the count function for each manager. I have to make sure I group by the manager. So I get the manager and the name of the department that manager is managing, along with the count. If I don't group by, I will just get a count of all the employees and get the last manager and last department number. Or other words, the manager and department fields from the last record in the table. So I want to group by. So I need to include that in my SQL statement. Now I don't need anything else. That specifies the fields that will go into the record set, the three fields that I need, the manager's name, the department, and the employee total. And the table it's coming from and the group by. So that takes care of that. So that sets up the value in the SQL at the very beginning. So now I can use that variable anywhere. So now we'll move to the form load event and create the record set. To do that, I need a database object. So I will define MyDB as a database and set MyDB equal to the current database. Great. Now I will create a record set object, and I need to set the record set. That will be the result of a method on the database object, which is the open record set method. Now, since I am calling that as a function because I'm getting a return value, I need to specify parentheses. That's really how VBA distinguishes a call as a function or just as a subroutine. Now, if something is defined as a subroutine, there's no need to worry about it. But there are times that functions are used as subroutines where we don't care about the return value. Here we have to. So we have to specify the parameter here. Now, the only parameter I will specify is the variable containing the SQL string. I don't need to specify a cursor because the default cursor is the read-only. And that's what I want to do here. I only need a snapshot record set. I'm not changing the values in my record set, updating them at all. I am just obtaining them and then pulling information out of the record set for use for other purposes. So there's no need for me to lock any records to prevent other users of the database from being able to do any updates. So since the default cursor is read-only and a read-only database has no locks, I don't need any of the other parameters. Just a parameter that tells the computer this is the source of the information that's going into the record set. Perfect. Now I have my record set. All right. In the next lesson, I'll show you how to run through the record set to get the manager information to put into the list box.